Hello and welcome back, or welcome to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. A lot to talk about today, including quarterback trades that are coming out of the blue. But first, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who is apparently too Irish to go to Florida and get a tan, my dad, Tim.
Not only too Irish to get a tan, I can't stay out until 2 a.m. anymore. I was down there. Your sister turned 21, and she wanted me to fly down and go out with her. Went to a great karaoke bar. They have a live band. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're in your 60s now.
Started over at Disney Springs, had a great lunch, couple cocktails. Ended up over at City Walk, couple more cocktails. I can't do it anymore. I just can't stay out that late. I'm going to be fighting jet lag and recovery for the next month.
Well, I picked you up from the airport and you fell asleep in the car, so I figured.
For a 20-minute ride, yeah. By the way, happy birthday not only to your sister, but your brother Ryan's birthday this last week, so happy birthday to them both. I just can't. It was a great time. Had a great time while I was doing it. It was the next day that it was just like, my body looked at me and said, "Are you out of your mind?"
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I've been an old man forever and have really never done. I did that once, hated it, and realized I want to be in bed by 9:30.
Yeah, I can't say that. I used to.
Never my thing.
Out. Yeah, well, I can try to say, "Oh, it's because of my example." No, I used to go out.
No,
a lot.
Just I'm a boring person.
It's okay.
I love being a boring person. But what is not boring
is, are we going to do a segue?
BetUS, our new sponsor. Welcome BetUS to the Sports Talk family. Continuing with the promotion we have had for a little bit now, but it's not going to be lasting much longer. So you want to take advantage of this. Right now, you get 125% of your first deposit by following the link below, and only following the link below that you see with BetUS. Again, 125% of your first deposit with BetUS by following the link below. You can bet on UFC, you can bet on boxing, you can bet on soccer, football, baseball, XFL, March Madness coming up. Whatever you would like to bet on, you can, including a casino and gaming feature as well. Again, BetUS 125% on your first deposit by following the link you see in the description below. One thing I wouldn't have bet on was the sale of the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, you and I live in Milwaukee. We know how people follow the Bucks. And let's be honest, they're being followed because Giannis is on that team.
They are followed because of one man.
Yet, 25% of the franchise was just sold for $3.5 billion to the Haslam family. That is right, the Haslam family, the Browns ownership. I don't know why.
That means that the total, if you extrapolate everything out, that puts the amount the Bucks are worth at around $14 billion.
$14 billion. I mean, if 25% stake was sold for $3.5 billion, that means that the Bucks are evaluated at $14 billion.
So the Bucks don't own their arena. It's owned by a development corporation in the area.
Which is owned by the Milwaukee.
Well, it's true. But, I mean, it's a beautiful stadium. If they sell the team, it'll just get transferred. But when Giannis is gone, the Bucks become the Bucks again.
This is Packer country, man.
Look, Giannis has done such great things for Milwaukee, and he represents the state of Wisconsin unlike almost any other athlete that's ever played here.
Yeah.
He is just an amazing, amazing person, and Milwaukee's lucky to have them.
I agree.
And not only him, but his whole family. I don't understand. I mean, good for Lazary who sold it. Good for him for getting it.
Not bad for paying $250 million.
Maybe 5-6 years ago.
And to turn it into $3.5 billion. I mean, I would take that deal too. I don't know. I mean, the Haslams must have some inside stuff that I don't know on how they're going to make that money back.
They're not dumb people.
They're not by any means.
They're very smart.
I mean, if they run the Bucks like they run the Browns, I mean, I don't necessarily want.
Well, I don't think they've got controlling interests. Matter of fact,
They don't have controlling
I know
interest.
they don't have controlling interest, but they're going to have a say-so. For $3.5 billion, they'll have some say-so. And
that's amazing. I mean, considering the Clippers were sold in 2014 for $2 billion, and people were freaking out about that.
They were saying it, no team is worth that, blah, blah, blah. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin,
the Broncos just sold for $4.5 billion.
And the Washington football team isn't even being valued at anywhere near this.
Snyder values them at $7 billion. Not really what they're being offered. I think the highest offer that was reported, at least, was $5 billion. And the Bucks are selling 25% stake for $3.5 billion. I mean, if that doesn't tell you where basketball is right now and where the Bucks are valued at this point, I don't know what does. That's an insane amount of money for 25% of any franchise.
It is, but Giannis has done unbelievable things. The whole organization runs that franchise very, very well, and good for them for getting that, for selling and getting that kind of money. They've got the top of the line facilities in Fiserv Forum. It's beautiful. It's going to host. It was supposed to host the DNC. It's now going to host the RNC. So it's a top world class facility.
It is.
They've got the Deer District there.
Yep, they're building a whole concert venue there.
Yes, they are.
A professional soccer team there.
Well, the arena for the soccer.
The arena for the soccer team. I mean, it's an area that I know the Bucks have a lot of real estate in that area. And are 100% banking off that being the case, and that's unbelievable. Like, good for the Bucks for being valued that high. I've never seen a sports franchise being valued at basically $14 billion, and especially not one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
What's that going to mean for the other teams that are going to be sold? It's going to be insane.
The price for poker just went up quite a bit.
Quite a bit. Speaking of different teams that are rated at different levels, you sent me, and I don't agree with this top 5 or top 6 that you sent me. The players in the NFL, almost all the players, were asked to rate the facilities and everything that each team has.
1,300 players. There's about a little bit more than 1,500 players in the league. 1,300 of them were asked to survey their teams, and they were rated based off of facility. They were rated off training staff, out of strength coaching, out of food, off of team travel, and ease of family, meaning it's how well their families are treated.
Number 1 is wrong. I mean,
number
Minneapolis is a beautiful city to live in.
Listen,
but
Minneapolis,
the Vikings are never number 1 on any list.
I mean, not when it comes to winning franchises, no. But when it comes to a city, Minneapolis is one of the best cities in the United States. There's no doubt about that.
It's stunningly beautiful. I lived up there for a while and
cold as hell.
Loved it. Yes, but a lot of businesses, and there are some of the biggest companies in the world are based out of there. When I was there, you went in a half hour early every week and you were done by noon because the summer season is so short. Right. They let their people go out and enjoy the Friday afternoon.
The culture there is awesome.
It was great. It was outstanding. It's another upper Midwest city.
It is.
It just gets it, and the people are genuine. And
it is.
Same as in Michigan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Minneapolis is a much better city than Detroit.
No, I'm talking about the Michigan as a state.
Yes.
It's beautiful, and the people are nice.
Agreed. Camera, let me fix that. And by the way, I said cold as hell, and I mean it, because according to Devante's Inferno, the Divine Comedy, the ninth circle of hell is frozen over by the devil's wings continuously flapping, and the devil is frozen.
And if you want to hear more about that, you should subscribe and do your thing.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. Number 2 is the Miami Dolphins, which surprises me because it hasn't been a winning franchise for almost 50 years at this point.
It's Miami.
It's been a really a joke of a losing franchise for a long time until recently.
It's Miami.
But you do get to live in Miami, and if you're like what you used to be or other people that enjoy a nightlife, I'm sure it's a great place to live. I've been down there. For somebody that likes to go to bed early, it's not a place I'd like to hang out. I wasn't a big fan of Miami.
I had fun there.
But I don't really like the beach, and I don't really like the party life. So that pretty much counts out Miami for me.
Yes, it does. I mean, you gotta enjoy South Beach. Number 3 didn't surprise me at all, and good for the Raiders.
the Raiders turned it around because they would have been the bottom of this list when they were in Oakland. And they built brand new facilities, obviously in Vegas. They really spent a lot of money on that. Good for them. The Texans surprised me because, again, not a winning franchise. Beautiful city in Houston.
Good ownership.
Going on. Good ownership. The music culture in Houston has really erupted over the last few years. So good for Texas.
Texas
Number
is a fun
5,
place.
another Texas team in the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, Jerry Jones, I bet, takes offense to this.
Yes, because if he's not number 1, he's not on the list.
Because when you're looking at free agency, like if I'm a free agent and I see the Vikings are just rated number 1, the Vikings just went on the top of my list. Like, oh, this team clearly takes care of their players and has a good culture there. I'm going there. Cowboys, obviously top 5. I mean, people are still going to want to go there, but Jerry Jones likes to be number 1.
Number 6, I have to be honest, I was a little surprised.
Green Bay Packers. I went down to 6 specifically because the Packers were on it. One thing holding them back more than anything, which is their locker room. Not that it doesn't have enough space, because it does. It's a huge locker room. You and I have both been in there before. But it's the same locker room since 1960. It hasn't changed.
Look, the Packers' mindset is they want people to walk in and realize this is the history you're playing for. This is how you have to show up. Fine. Put every number you've retired. Put Favre, put Hudson, put Bart Starr, all their locker rooms in there. Nitschke and the other. All their lockers are in there behind glass.
Yeah.
And gut the rest of it and make it up to date.
At this point, you have to update it. That's not what this is about. These players are making millions and millions of dollars. You need to update that locker room to make it a little bit more comfortable for the players. Paul
Hornung should be in there. Packers retire Paul Hornung.
I don't know why it's not. Nobody's allowed to wear the number.
Correct.
So I don't get it.
But
that's what's holding them back. They also don't have a daycare, which they're one of 11 franchises that don't have a daycare. I didn't realize that was a thing until I read this, where they actually have daycares for kids, and I think that's awesome.
I do too, and I'm sure that every team will have it within the next couple of years.
I agree. I think what's great about this coming out is that if I'm a team where, hey, I'm one of 11 and that's something I was docked for, I'm going to pay attention to that, and I'm going to get that fixed right away.
Oh, absolutely. It's not that big of an expense, and it's one that they've got the money.
Right.
Make it right by these players, because they do look at that. You and I both feel this way. Family is number 1. Yep. Those are the kind of things I've looked for.
I agree. One thing I was surprised is how highly the Packers' food was rated. Wisconsin's not really known for food.
Are you nuts? Some of the best food in the world is here. You've got brats, you've got fish fries, you've got cheese, you've got brats, you've got
steak. You have steak, but that's the 4 things we got.
Yeah, that's our 4 food groups.
We got fish fry, we got steak, we got brats, and we got cheese. That's about it. I mean, any type of meat, you can include hamburgers in that too, but that's it. Like,
not a lot of sushi in Wisconsin.
This is not a culinary capital.
No.
There is a lot of culture here. Chinese food's actually really good here for the most part. It's went down a little bit.
I tried to find pad thai
area.
I had tried to find pad thai here. You looking for what?
I mean,
no southern accent, but
you can find it in Madison. But that's about it.
Some of the best gyros on the face of the planet are in Madison, Wisconsin.
Madison's got a lot of different foods there. Madison is a very rare place in the state of Wisconsin or the Midwest in general. There's not a lot here, so it's like, hey, good for them for having good food there. I mean, if they're serving brats and steaks all the time, then yeah, you're going to win out. But other than that, not a lot going on in the state of Wisconsin.
There's not, but it says a lot for the organization that obviously the players really appreciate what they do, and they get the history.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I didn't send you. So I included the bottom 5 in this list here because I wanted you to guess. And I know you didn't look it up because I know you were hungover most of the time. So
I was not hungover. Hung tired.
There you go. But can you name the worst team, number 32 on the list, that was rated by players?
Worst owner in sports. It's got to be the Washington football team.
It is the Washington Commanders. I'm calling them the Commanders because if you're going to be rated the worst, you might as well have the worst name
and they do.
Sports history. So yes, the Washington Commanders were the worst. The facilities were by far the worst. The food was bad. The training weight room was bad. Training staff was rated poorly. All the way around, it was rated pretty bad. The culture there kind of sucks. This one surprised me. Can you name 31, the second worst team in the NFL?
Cleveland.
Cleveland was actually pretty high up on the list. They're like 12 or 13.
Okay. Chargers only because they play in the same stadium. They're second-class citizens.
Chargers are the 30th ranked, not the 31st, but they are also in the top 5.
Jags?
Nope. The Jags are 28th. On the list.
The second worst owner in all of sports. It's got to be Arizona.
It is the Arizona Cardinals.
Bad ownership.
So here's what really gets me. The players in Arizona are apparently forced to pay for their own meals.
Excuse me?
They're the only franchise that doesn't pay for the players' meals. Every other team has 3 meals comped for the players.
As they should.
Right. Arizona Cardinals are made to pay. I now see why J.J. Watt retired. He's like, I'm going to take this money while I still have it.
Wow.
Good stadium. They really do. The grass, that's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
The NFL did that on purpose because of all the stuff about the turf. They're like, well, look how bad we can make the grass.
That's right. So
conspiracy, believe in it.
Shut up about field turf.
It's all a conspiracy. But Arizona does have a good stadium. That's the reason they were able to host a Super Bowl. But the culture there was just rated so bad.
Doesn't surprise me. The ownership of the Cardinals has been bad since St. Louis days.
Yeah.
And that goes back a long ways. They're known as the cheapest franchise in much of sports.
I don't know how the NFL can stand there and allow them to charge their players for meals.
The Bidwells are just that way. Doesn't surprise me that they're doing it. It surprises me that they can get away with it.
I mean, the Suns just got away from their owner finally. I think it's time for Arizona Cardinals to get rid of their owner as well, because if that's how you're going to act, you're not going to build a winning franchise, and it makes sense that the culture in Arizona is the way that it is around that
Yes,
team.
Makes a lot of sense. And if I'm a coach, that would be the first thing that would change. We're going to take care of our players.
The other one was the Chargers. The Chargers were 30th. They have a lot of work to do. I think what would really fix that is a new stadium of their own and really building their own culture.
In San Diego?
They should go back to San Diego. I still call them the San Diego Chargers.
Oh,
It's where they belong. 28 was the Jaguars, only for the facility.
Facility is just horrendous.
They need to move. They belong in San Antonio, in my opinion, or St. Louis, because St. Louis is a good sports town. It really is.
St. Louis is one of the best sports towns in America. I mean, they are the best baseball town in America, and it kills me to say that as a Cub fan.
You and me both. Oh, that's right. You're a Cubs fan now. You're not a Brewers fan anymore after the Corbin Burns thing.
I'm not talking about that right now, but the Brewers have to do some repair work to get me back in the fold.
Hey, Cubs get one more World Series in the next 100 years. That's the rules. So we get 2 every 100 years.
But the Jags facility, you and I have been there for games.
I used to get in for free. I went to Jacksonville University and used to get in games for free because nobody was there.
Not good.
I mean, honestly, the conversation with the security guard was, would you rather me go in there and buy food so you can actually make money, or sit in the parking lot and just have nobody in the stands?
Well, it's so bad. There was a real serious conversation when we still lived there. They were going to play half their games in Orlando.
Correct. And if that's the conversation you're having, Jacksonville is the strongest. It's the largest city, landmass-wise, in the United States, but is by far the smallest metropolitan area. And none of that much.
You want to try to speak again?
Slow down. None of that metropolitan area is a good area. It's just not. I mean, I remember being there going to school, and we were not allowed outside the gates inside the city at all. It just was. It's not a well kept up area. There's not a lot of business there.
They've got great Cubans.
They have great Cubans. Not any better than
Cuban sandwiches. Just so you know,
but it's not different than Tampa or Miami or Orlando.
No, Publix is everywhere down there, and they've got great Cuban sandwiches. But the Jaguars, I agree with you. They've got to move. I don't know where, but
I mean, the answer is San Antonio or St. Louis.
Those are the first two.
The NFL owes St. Louis. There's a reason St. Louis won the lawsuit versus the NFL.
They've got to do something about their facility. I don't want to see them go out of
something about the facility.
I don't want to see them go to Mexico City. I don't want to see them go to Vancouver or any place in Canada.
No. They're going to San Antonio or to St. Louis. I mean, those are your two options. Probably San Antonio because they can stay in the same division that they're in.
Go to San Antonio, build a stadium in between Austin and San Antonio, get both markets.
Yep.
Easy drive for both. Plenty of
Done
population.
Deal. And San Antonio will pay for it. So will Austin.
Yes.
So both chip in. Austin's a extremely growing market. It's one of the fastest growing markets in the United States.
Extremely well off.
Yeah. They can afford the stadium, and they will pay for it between the two cities. That's where the Jaguars need to go, and they'll rocket up this list because one thing we're going to talk about, the Jaguars are about to be a good team. Very, very good team. 29 shocked me beyond belief.
Oh.
Yes. I bet you I will give you whatever number of guesses we have left for teams, and you won't get it.
Wouldn't be Seattle.
It's not Seattle.
Wouldn't be the Rams. They've got a brand new stadium.
It's not the Rams.
Baltimore?
Nope. Baltimore was like 15.
Oh.
Jets was 19.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Giants, New England.
Giants
Buffalo.
were 8. Buffalo was 9.
Only because of
New England was
Buffalo's
16.
Buffalo's getting a new facility. Bears?
Nope. Bears were higher on the list. I don't remember.
Okay, I got nothing.
12. The Kansas City Chiefs.
What?
The Kansas City Chiefs were 29th on this list.
They're one of the best run organizations in all of football. Andy Reid is the best coach in football.
You think the Packers are bad about the history side of things? The Chiefs are apparently much worse. It's the same locker room they've had since the word go. It's the same facilities they've had since the word go.
That surprises me.
Apparently, the younger players are forced to have roommates.
That wouldn't surprise. Andy Reid's that kind of a guy where he's going to have, if it's just for the rookies, kind of keep an eye on each other. I can see Andy Reid doing that.
They are one of the few teams that have roommates at all. Like none of the top 6 that we mentioned, or any really the top 20, they all have their own hotel rooms.
I don't have a huge problem if it's just for the rookies.
If it's just for the rookies, I don't either. Like, welcome to the league.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fine. But it's not really first class for everybody either.
The food in Kansas City is off the hook.
If you like barbecue, especially.
Yes, and I do.
It's really good.
Really good. Really, really, really good.
Yeah. I've had barbecue in Dallas and Kansas City, and it's really hard to pick which one's better.
I've had it in
depends what you like.
I've had it in Carolina.
I haven't had Carolina barbecue.
That's really good.
I've learned it all depends on the spice you like.
Correct. And I don't like a lot of spice.
Right. Dallas is more barbecue type of flavor. Kansas City has more to do with the spiciness
and the rubs.
Of the rubs there. So it really depends what you like there. But yeah, Kansas City is 29th on the list.
Surprised Andy Reid puts up with that.
A lot's going to change. This is the first time they've done this. I got to imagine that a lot is going to change from this list, and good for the NFL for putting this out to the public as well.
That's going to put pressure on it. I think the players, the fact that they got over 1,300 respondents in a league of 1,500?
15 something, yeah.
That shows the players took a real interest in this as well, and good for them.
Yeah, I don't know what 53 times 32 is, but it's 15 something.
Probably 50. I don't know.
I'm not even going to do the math. I don't care. You let us know in the comments below if you know the math. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy the show as much as we enjoy making it. One of the reasons I mentioned the Jaguars are going to be a dangerous team next year, Calvin Ridley just got reinstated. He was traded to the Jaguars November 1st, which I had forgotten completely about because he had been out of the league. He was suspended for gambling.
I have a big problem with this in the first place. He was on the IR.
And away from the team.
And he bet $1,500 on his own team to win.
It's insider betting.
I get it. I do get it. But a year seemed really harsh.
Pete Rose bet on his own team and was banned for his entire life.
As he should be. Different scenario.
Your hypocrisy when it comes to baseball versus any other sport boggles my mind.
Pete Rose was the manager of his team, betting on his own team. He had the ability to leave a pitcher in too long.
The dude should still be in the Hall of Fame for being a player.
He should not be in the Hall of Fame. He was banned for life. He had the ability to leave a pitcher in too long. He had the ability to pull a pitcher too soon just to make sure his bookies were taken care of.
With him as a player going in the Hall of Fame?
He did it as a player, for God's sakes. He was player manager. Baseball over every locker room.
You just said Calvin Ridley shouldn't have been suspended for that long for betting on his own team, and Pete Rose only bet on his own team. I get the manager side of thing, but that has nothing to do with him being a player.
He was a player manager.
It's still him as a manager.
Over every locker room. If you bet on baseball, you will be banned for life.
Say the same thing in football.
Different deal.
Calvin Ridley gets reinstated after less than a year.
Yeah. And if he stopped.
And let's be honest, he was hurt anyways.
Right. He was hurt, number one. Number two.
But he did lose his paycheck.
He won't do it again. Pete Rose had no ability to stop doing it.
He wasn't caught. He stopped after he was caught because he's out of the game.
He's still doing it.
He's not in the game anymore.
Oh, for God's sakes. Anyways, I'm glad Ridley's back. It's going to make Jacksonville a very dangerous team.
It is, because you have Christian Kirk, who really started to light it up towards the end of the year. You have Zach Taylor, who really came into his own.
You have Trevor Lawrence.
You have Trevor Lawrence. You have three really solid receivers now. And Trevor Lawrence. And Calvin Ridley, by the way, he's on the 5th year of his rookie contract, so he's guaranteed $11 million. But that's cheap for a wide receiver, and the Jags have the cap room to re-sign him if he shows up. I mean, he's going to be with the Jaguars for a while now.
And he's got a chip on his shoulder. He will show up. And again, you've got Trevor Lawrence.
And you have Trevor Lawrence, who will be an MVP, if not next year, the year after.
Exactly. I can see in the future a Jacksonville-Detroit Super Bowl in our future.
Sure.
Because Detroit's going to be really good next year.
They are. They were good this year towards the second half.
They were.
I mean, they had a really tough schedule in the first half and lost most of their games then, and were really...
I missed my prediction by
away.
one. I missed my prediction by one game. I said they'd be in the playoffs.
You were wrong still.
You laughed at me.
Yeah, and I was right too. They didn't make the playoffs.
They almost did.
But they didn't.
They almost did.
But they didn't. But the Jaguars are definitely going to be in the playoffs again next year with Ridley on that team.
And they're going to be a year better. Lawrence is going to be at a full year working with Doug Peterson.
Correct. Because again, his rookie year didn't count. No. So last year was really his rookie year. Travis Etienne, also his rookie year last year. He's going to be better this year than he was last year. They need to really reinforce that offensive line in the draft this year.
Sure.
And in free agency. That's where they need to spend their money.
They're not the only team that needs to do that.
They're not. They have to work on that defense a little bit more too, but they have everything there to have a lightning offense next year.
So let me ask you this. AFC is stacked again next year.
Correct.
By far the
AFC
most
is much better than the NFC.
Much better. Top two teams, hands down, is Philadelphia and San Francisco doesn't have a quarterback.
And the NFC.
In the NFC,
I'm just moved to the NFC without any segue to what you were talking about. But okay.
Says the man I had to teach the word segue to.
Yeah, it's a little scooter.
Yes, exactly. Anyways, who are the next set of teams in the NFC?
I mean, it depends where the quarterbacks fall at this point.
Well, Derek Carr just signed with the Saints.
He did today, just sign with
the Jets. Screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah.
Word is that in the next...
I have no faith in Derek Carr. I don't think that adds... You've just given yourself another Jameis Winston. Like, you didn't... In my opinion, they didn't upgrade over Jameis Winston at all. If anything, Jameis Winston, in my opinion, is the better quarterback.
I'm not going to argue that. I worry about their head coach. They've got a lot of other pieces in place. But
I mean, you have the receivers there to succeed, but Carr had the receivers in place last year in
the best
Vegas.
Best wide receiver in all of football.
Now, Carr could go and light it up, and then at that point, it's Josh McDaniels' fault. But
wait a minute.
He's had a lot of opportunities.
Where's Winston going to go?
I don't know.
Because I think he'll beat out Derek Carr.
I do too. And they just paid him what, $140 million over
4 years, $150 million.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's your starter.
And the rumor is that Jimmy G is going to sign with Vegas in the next couple days.
That's a rumor.
And then there's also...
Which is a good signing.
That's a good signing.
I mean, it puts Josh McDaniels back with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
Which is a good fit.
It's probably the best of all fits for Jimmy.
If he can stay healthy.
Well, that's always the question. And then there's... Aaron Rodgers is one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in all of football over the last...
He's one of the best people in the world at what he does.
He's one of the probably top 2 or 3 over the last decade to ever play the position. And the idiots in Green Bay are trying to push him out the door when he still can play at the top of his game. Why?
I don't know. That's why I don't like having this conversation. I don't understand.
I still think he comes back. The word on the street is today I heard a bunch of people talking about he's going to the Jets. I don't think so.
I think he retires. I really do. I think he's going to retire at this point.
I'm not sure about that I heard you sent me something, and it almost made me drop my phone, that back in the day when Favre was doing his up and down, am I coming back, am I not coming back, the Vikings offered the Packers 3 number ones for Brett Favre, and they didn't take it?
Yeah, and I want to get into that in more detail because this is a problem I have with general managers in the NFL.
How stupid can you be for not taking 3 number ones?
Yeah.
I don't care how good
the
your
Rodgers
quarterback
thing,
is.
Though, I mean, the Jets are in desperation mode now.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
So the price of poker just went up for the Jets when it comes to Rodgers.
Austin, or the owner of the Jets, is going to spend whatever he needs to try to get Rodgers at this point.
If I'm the Packers, I look at signing Jalen Ramsey and trade for Mike Evans instead. Like that's where I look at going. I go all in with Aaron Rodgers and spend the money.
You think?
We'll renegotiate the contract. But I think, honestly, if you try and trade Aaron Rodgers, I think he just retires. I really do. I think he wants to be a Packer. I don't know if his mind's all in it. He's out of the darkness now, right?
He is that.
And so we'll see what he wants to do.
Well, here's my question. You had a great draft last year. Christian Watson proved to be a really good wide receiver at the second half of the year.
Out of that draft.
And Romeo Doubs, solid guy across the middle so far. Imagine how good they would have been if they wouldn't have screwed up the Devontae Adams situation and kept him in Green Bay by signing him the year before.
Yeah, it would have been
had
a very
the chance.
team.
Who could have then coached up Christian Watson and probably would have made the Packers that much more dangerous. Their front office boggles my mind, and head coach boggles my mind.
I agree. I don't know where Rodgers is going to go. I think it's closer to retirement at this point than anything else.
I think he's back in Green Bay.
I hope he's back in Green Bay.
He's not going to walk away from
I hope he's back in Green Bay. And people, again, forget that they went to Favre and asked him to come back. He decided not to play for Green Bay anymore. They didn't move on from him. He moved on from Green Bay. But yes, they did offer, the Vikings offered 3 first-round picks. And it's the same thing where, like, they won't trade Aaron Rodgers to Green Bay because they're too.
Really?
They trade him to Green Bay. He's already there.
He's already there.
Green Bay won't trade him to San Francisco because they don't want him in the same conference. My thought is, if you're that worried on what he's going to do on another team, then you probably shouldn't get rid of him. You need to think about your own franchise at this point. Listen, especially with the Favre thing, if they're offering you 3 first-round picks and you don't want Favre on your team anymore anyways, help your quarterback that you have. Laugh as the Vikings don't have Favre in 2 years and you still have first-round picks you're drafting for and making your team better to stomp the Vikings in the future. Same with Rodgers. Hell, I think Rodgers on the Vikings would win a Super Bowl right now. If they're offering you a ton of draft picks, take them.
If San Francisco, rumor had it a couple years ago, offered 4 number ones, the Packers should have taken it because you still have to run your business. And your business is getting talent into the organization. If you got a chance to get 4 number ones, you take it all day long.
Problem is you need talent to understand that, and clearly Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur don't have it when it comes to their
coaching and GM ability. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. And
I'll never understand that as a GM. Why would you not take the deal? If you don't want that player anymore and another team is willing to pay that much to get that player from you,
and have a little confidence that, okay, I'm going to give you this quarterback. I'm still going to beat you.
Right. And even if you don't, you didn't want that player anymore.
If Jordan Love really is that good and you're ready to move on to him and somebody's willing to give you 3, 4 first-round picks, make the trade. Make the move.
If you don't want the player anymore, look at the Cowboys with Herschel Walker.
Yes.
They said, here you go, Minnesota. We're going to build our franchise into a Super Bowl contenders.
And not only contenders, they won 3 because of that trade.
Correct.
Jimmy Johnson is a much better GM than Brian Gutekunst.
Clearly. And apparently Ted Thompson back in the day, too.
Oh, yeah.
That was more of a vindictive thing than anything. And the dude still went and played for the Vikings. So what was the point of it all?
Well, and you can't be vindictive in that position. You've got to be somewhat analytical and go, yeah, he's not going to be our quarterback. I'm going to get these picks even if he's 90 miles away.
Well, and you ended up, Favre goes to the Vikings, and then you win the Super Bowl the year after he almost gets them to the Super Bowl. Imagine what you could have done with those other first-round picks. Like, it would have been a different ballgame for years to come. I just don't understand the concept.
I've got a headache to start with, and you're making it worse.
I don't get it. We'll see what happens, because obviously a lot more moves are coming. beware the Ides of March, as March 15th free agency is coming. And a lot is going to change in that type of situation, or in that time frame for sure. I'm not talking well today. I had 4 good shows where I could actually use the English language correctly, and now I'm back to this mumbling nonsense.
All evidence to the contrary, but we'll,
One other thing here with the NFL rules. So they're talking about getting rid of the push.
As they should.
The Eagles push, right? Where everybody gets behind Jalen Hurts and they just push forward.
That has been banned in the NFL for almost all eternity. The most famous play in the history of the NFL in the Ice Bowl, you see Jerry Kramer and Chuck Mercine in the back, arms up in the air.
Well, that wasn't Jerry Kramer.
Jerry Kramer made the Chuck Mercine in the background was the running back going, I'm not pushing.
Right. He wasn't saying touchdown. He was making sure that he didn't get flagged for pushing him in.
Correct.
Because that was illegal at that time.
As it should be.
And it should be now. I really don't like the push rule. I mean, why wouldn't you go for it on 4th and 1? You're going to get it every time.
What, do you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts?
You can squat 800 pounds?
Yeah. You're going to get your first down. And it's just a rule that's unnecessary. It doesn't add anything to the game.
The rule didn't exist when Cam Newton was there. It was put into play after.
Well, if it was an experiment, I think it was. They wanted to see what would happen. You've now seen it. It's an ugly look, actually.
It's too much advantage to the offense. It doesn't make 4th and 1 fun at all because you know that they're going to get the first down.
Correct.
I mean, even when Aaron Rodgers was doing quarterback sneaks, they were getting the first down. It's just a giant push. And if you're talking about player safety, I mean, you're not caring about the player safety of the defensive players because they're getting destroyed.
Speaking of this hypocrisy, the NFL stands for hypocrisy and player safety.
Just like you with baseball and every other sports and rules. It's true.
It's not.
The push needs to be you need to get rid of the push. You just do. It honestly takes away from football, in my opinion. It had been illegal for a long time for that very reason because it gave the offense a huge edge, and we just proved that.
Yes.
It gives the offense all the edge.
It's almost impossible to stop, especially with a quarterback of size, as I said. It's just, they need to go back and just, you can't push, figure a different way to do it because Hurts could go over the top. He could sneak it himself. He could honestly, he could fake it and throw for 5 yards and make a big play out of it.
But why would you do any of that when you can just push him over the top?
Exactly.
You just literally ride the wave.
You can't
stop
it. Okay.
It needs to go away. One quarterback that won't be able to do what Jalen Hurts does is Bryce Young of Alabama. He was at the Combine. The Combine happened over the weekend. And
5'10"?
He is 5'10" and 1/8 inch. That part doesn't bother me. What's crazy to me, he is 204 pounds.
That's big for him. Because he was about $185 for a long time.
That is tiny.
He's got 9 3/4 inch hands.
Hey, he can hold a football. It doesn't mean he's going to be able to get up after a big hit. What was the issue with Robert Griffin III? Now, Robert Griffin III, he was 6'2" and some change and 223 pounds.
Yes. Big boy.
And he was too small. He got destroyed in the NFL because of how small he was.
You look at the Kyler Murrays. You look at the Russell Wilson.
Kyler Murray is not. Both Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson are built, muscular human beings. They were the size they were, but they were both 220, 230 pounds.
Bryce Young's going to grow. He's still in his growth area. He'll get bigger.
You're talking about spending the number 1 overall draft pick on a quarterback that you don't know if you're going to be able to keep upright. He's going to get one hit and break in half. I mean,
I'm drafting C.J. Stroud before I'm drafting Bryce Young for that very reason.
Oh, I think C.J. Stroud is the best in class. I mean, I think he's the number 1 quarterback. I think he'll be the number 1 quarterback off the board if they're smart, because the Bears are going to trade the pick.
They should. They've got a great quarterback in Justin Fields. Why would you do something?
Honestly, if I'm the Ravens, I tag Lamar Jackson and trade him to the Bears for the number 1 overall pick and another first-round draft pick and draft C.J. Stroud.
That would make sense.
And bring in Justin Fields at the same time. Bring in the Ohio State teammates. See who wins.
I think Justin Fields wins at this point. He's just because he's a little bit older, more mature, and he's been in the league.
But I'm not drafting Bryce Young at that size. I'm just not. I mean, do you know how much he's going to have to eat in order to get bigger? Like I'm 6 foot, right? 6 foot on the nose, and I hold on to it for dear life. They told me I was 5'11" and like 7/8 of an inch once, and I did dead hangs until I was 6 feet again. I'm holding on to it for dear life.
I bought an inversion table to try to get back to 5'11", so I understand.
And I'm 225 pounds, right?
Correct.
Compared to the average NFL athlete, I'm tiny. Teeny tiny. Like, I'm big. I go to the gym a lot. I work out, not anywhere near these NFL players, obviously. Like, to the average person, I look strong. To NFL players,
you look like lunch.
I look exactly. I'm going to get killed. And you're asking somebody who's not only 2 inches shorter than me, but is 20 pounds lighter than me.
Can you imagine
to be a quarterback in the NFL?
A TJ Watt, pick your defensive player that's going to just want to tee off on him.
Right. I am not supposed to be bigger and more built than an NFL player. I'm just not. I'm an average person who has a full-time job and doesn't have time to work out. I only work out an hour a day, yet I am bigger and by all accounts stronger than Bryce Young is. And he's being talked about as a first overall pick. Now, I am not the athlete Bryce Young is. Let's get that straight. I'm not claiming that. I'm not anything. But he needs to put on some muscle if he's going to survive in this league.
And he will. He will.
But you're going to make him the number 1 overall draft pick where you're going to ask him to start day 1.
Well, and that's where the mistake is being made. He should not be starting day 1. He will, because that's the NFL of today.
He's going to get killed. RG3 got killed, and he was 4 inches taller than him and 20 pounds heavier.
And probably better athlete in the
Robert
league.
Griffin III should have been a Hall of Fame quarterback. I will say that till the day I die. Robert Griffin III is the largest what should have been in the history of sports.
Well, with that draft, Andrew Luck, RG3, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins. I mean, RG3 should have dominated the NFL for a decade plus. A fluke injury that he was rushed back from. He never should have been, and I think he's learned his lesson. The good news about it is he's an outstanding commentator.
He is. He's talented at whatever he does. I'm a huge RG3 fan, obviously.
So am I.
But again, you see a quarterback that size getting destroyed. You're going to see a quarterback that's smaller and lighter than him getting destroyed. 204 pounds on a 5'10 frame. I mean, that's just not a lot of weight. And let's be honest, he's only 204 pounds because he has been eating nonstop since the end of college. That dude, to get to 204 pounds, has probably been eating 8,000 to 10,000 calories a day since the end of the college football season.
He's put on 19 pounds since the end of football.
That's insane. And none of that's, I'm sure some of that's muscle, but a lot of that is him just eating calories. He's not going to be able to sustain that in an NFL season. He's specifically been training for the combine. I want to see what he weighs in at his pro day, because I guarantee he'll be back under 200 pounds.
He's probably going to be back into that 195 range. I think you're putting a lot of risk on a guy who's not going to be able to take a lot of hits.
He's not built for the NFL. He's not. And I think that's an issue with college in general. You and I talked about this. These guys who are first round picks used to have, I mean, it was 200 pounds minimum. No matter if you were a corner, no matter if you were a safety, no matter who you were 200 pounds, just built solid muscle.
Mm-hmm.
They have a cornerback. I can't remember where the kid's from, but he weighed in at 166 pounds at the NFL Combine.
Okay. Can he play? Can he jump out of the gym?
How are you going to tackle somebody at 166 pounds?
Obviously, he did it in college.
But it's because the college athlete especially in the SEC, is much smaller now. These guys are not built to be big. They are built for speed. They are not being prepared for the next level at any stretch of the imagination.
And I will tell you what I told you earlier. It's not college's job to get these guys ready for the NFL.
It's not. It's college's job to win. But at some point as a player, you need to realize I need to bulk up. I mean, being 166 pounds and being talked about as a first-round draft pick?
That's crazy. Honestly, that's just insane because, think of him on Christian Watson, who's 6'4", 235 at this point.
Right. He'll bulk up. I mean, you can be a speed guy, but he is going to get manhandled by wide receivers. Look at Devontae Adams, who's 225, 230 pounds. And what is he, like 6'4"? I mean, he's just going to touch him with a finger and push the kid over.
Probably.
You look at Bryce Young standing in the backfield. You mentioned TJ Watt. TJ Watt's going to break him in half like a toothpick.
It's going to be interesting to find out, but your concerns and my concerns don't seem to be the NFL's concerns. They're ready to jump in with both feet.
They're not, but we've seen a lot of people build a lot of bad teams.
Sure.
I mean, if I'm drafting Bryce Young, like what's that movie with that you like? With the redhead and the old dude.
The redhead and the
baseball
old
movie.
The Problem with the Curve?
Yeah, that one.
Amy Adams, Clint Eastwood.
That's the redhead and the old dude I was talking about. Yeah.
You hear the sound of the ball?
Lois Lane.
Amy Adams.
Yeah. That's the one.
What about her?
But you look at it where you have the player that was drafted with the number 2 overall pick, right? Braves, or no, somebody else drafts the pitcher.
Give me the peanut vendor all day long.
Right. This kid is a great project, but he's not worth a number 2 overall pick. That's what I look at with Bryce Young. The kid's a great project. I would have him in the NFL, and I would have him in the gym for 3 years straight, bulking up, getting ready for the NFL, and working on his throwing motion. But he is not a number 1 overall pick at that size.
The biggest change we've seen in football, it used to be a quarterback would get drafted, and he would sit for 2 or 3 years, like Rodgers.
But the life is so short on these GMs and coaches now, they have to make a decision to change their franchise now, and that's not fair to the players. And Bryce Young I think he's going to fall. I do. I think you see Richardson from Florida going up because that dude's a monster. I think Levis or Levi, whatever you call him, Levis.
C.J. Stroud's going to go up.
C.J. Stroud's a number 1 overall pick, in my opinion.
I don't
Levis
think so.
will be there. People are saying that 4 quarterbacks will go in the top 10. Bryce Young at that size, I could see him fall.
I mean, the Bears are going to trade back if they're smart.
I don't think they want anything to do with the first round pick.
I don't think so either. Why would they? They can get a bunch of draft picks.
Well, and the question is, too, okay, the Bears were talking about drafting the defensive tackle from Georgia with the number 1 overall pick. But all of a sudden, who knows what's happening with him?
Okay. You really want to get into that? Because the kid did something stupid.
We don't need to get into it. You and I are on the same page. The kid was racing. He shouldn't be charged in those guys. He wasn't driving the car that crashed.
Correct.
He was racing. He should get his misdemeanor tickets for reckless driving and speeding.
And learn his lesson and move on with life.
But he didn't lose control of a car like the other people lost control of a car.
Yeah, but everybody's trying to make an example out of a kid who, by the way, every one of us has done something stupid like that when we were a kid.
We all think we're invincible at that age.
You do. And he thought he was, and he's going to have to live with the fact that 2 of his friends sadly died, but it wasn't his fault that they died.
No, he didn't lose control of his car. He didn't cause an accident. They were racing.
You and I are 2 of the very few people saying that. Everybody else is going, well, he was racing and he caused those deaths. No, he didn't. He didn't.
If he was driving,
different story.
He was not driving that car. He did not lose control of his car. Should he have been racing? No, but that doesn't make him at fault for 2 people dying.
Correct. So I still think he should be.
But he won't be.
No, he's going to drop, and that's sad. And somebody's going to get a great pick and have a kid who's learned a really hard lesson.
I don't fall to 15 in Green Bay.
Yeah,
I feel bad for him because he is going to fall, I think, quite a bit.
It could be a Rodgers-like fall.
It's not his fault. It's not. And like you said, this kid's got to live with this for the rest of his life, that one of his good friends died and somebody else died as well. But again, yes, was he racing? It sounds like it.
Yeah.
But he didn't lose control of the car. He didn't cause those people to pass away. And it's just a sad situation that we need to just
let
it be.
Let the kid learn from it. Give him his tickets. Don't ruin a kid's life for a stupid mistake and something that somebody else did.
It wasn't his fault that car lost control. Bottom line in the story. But I think he's going to fall, and I think Bryce Young's going to fall too. I really do. I don't know how he can't fall. Like, that is just not a good size quarterback. I don't touch that kid with a 10-foot pole unless it's in the 3rd round.
Mel Kiper said if he was over 195, he was all in on him. I just don't see it.
The only reason he's over 195 is because he must have been eating food every 2 hours since the end of the football season.
A lot of Big Macs.
Right.
Because I don't think it was healthy calories. Obviously, he's got nutritionists and they've been working with him, but it's still going to take a lot to bulk him up.
It is. He's going to have to put on a lot of muscle and a lot of size to be able to survive in this league.
Okay, can we move on from the NFL and what will be an exciting draft to how the college game is letting their own game being ruined?
Well, walk-ons are a thing of the past, for sure. In college football, you're never going to see another walk-on story again.
J.J. Watt will never be heard of again. Pick your walk-ons. But it's just the NIL, we've talked about it before, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, should never be offered to a freshman coming in to college.
The issue that we're starting to see, though, and you and I have talked about that, and I agree with you, it's not a recruiting tool, nor should it be a recruiting tool.
But it is.
It is, and it shouldn't be. But the issue that's also coming of this is that this transfer portal has become free agency.
Right, and it shouldn't be.
That's all it is. I mean, if I'm a high school student, I feel bad for high school kids now. You're never going to be recruited and be developed into one of these top tier schools because as soon as somebody leaves, they're not looking at you to replace that player and give you a shot. They're looking into the transfer portal to see what's out there to replace you with a known commodity that's now available.
Which, again, to me, means that football is within...
This just isn't football.
No, it's not. But the major schools, the Big Ten, the SEC, they are getting very, very close to needing to break off from the NCAA, reset everything with their own rules, because the NCAA has shown no ability to get in front of an issue. They're always behind, and that's not good for football or basketball.
Look, I mean, when it comes to this, if I'm a high school recruit right now, I'm going to a lower D1 school. I'm going to get my chance to start there, show what I'm all about, and then hit the transfer portal and get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to a lower D1 school like Wisconsin, shine there for a little bit, and then go to Ohio State where they're going to pay me a big NIL deal and I can get drafted in the first round.
Wisconsin is not a lower D1 school, number one.
What was her record last year?
I was accosted at City Walk, by the way, by a Cincinnati fan who called me an MF. And I was just standing there because Wisconsin stole their coach. He was fun. He was a funny guy. He was like, seriously, you've got a great coach. Wisconsin's not a low D1 school.
Listen, I'm excited for Luke Fickell to do exactly what I think these high school recruits will do.
No.
He'll go to a lower D1 school, show what they can do, and he'll go back to Ohio State in about 5 years.
He is never going to
national championship.
No, he is not going back to Ohio State.
He's going home.
He's going to kick their butt year after year after year.
Ryan Day is going to run his course, and then Fickell's going to come in and win national championships.
Ryan Day is going to be played like Green Day, and Luke Fickell's going to rise up and own the Big Ten and build his dynasty
like
at
Green
the University of Wisconsin.
You got to explain the Green Day reference.
Just move on. I was hoping you just let it go. I couldn't think of a good one at the moment. So,
I mean, are we going to wake you up when September ends here?
No. Fickell wanted to be in Wisconsin.
I want to go back to the Green Day reference and make you work that one out.
Can't do it. Leave it alone. Mr. Tambourine Man, whatever. Just leave it alone.
Is that even Green Day? I don't know Green Day well, so
I don't know.
That's why I need you to explain the reference. I don't know Green Day well enough.
Green Day. It was just all I got. Never mind.
Also, it was just bad.
It was just awful.
Got it.
Just leave me alone.
Fair. Listen, again, if I'm a high school student, right?
Yes.
All jokes aside, I am going to a lower D1 school, like a Boise State, like a place like that, one of the Big 12 schools at this point, like a Wisconsin, like a Minnesota, like in what Nebraska is right now.
A Northwestern, a Rutgers, wherever you want to go. Pick your school.
Go there, shine above everybody else.
Or the lower SEC schools other than Alabama.
Right. Or ACC schools, right? Go to a Wake Forest or a Connecticut and just shine for a while.
Or Notre Dame.
Right now, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's different.
Just ask them, right?
Right.
They should be in the Big Ten. Get over themselves.
But then enter the transfer portal and get paid by one of these big schools who are, that are competing, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Texas, the Oklahoma, the USCs, and just perform. There's no limit, there's no cap. And maybe that's where the NIL has to go to make it more fair again. Maybe you have to put a cap on what you can actually give these kids. But that should have been done, again, the NCAA proving they can't get ahead of a problem.
Right.
They saw this coming and should have changed it, but it's ruined the college game completely.
It certainly made it a different game. People still go, they still watch, but no kid in college, everybody was complaining, well, they can't even eat. Well, now you're paying kids through this NIL millions of dollars, and that's not right either.
My ass. Like these guys, part of their scholarship is they get 3 square meals a day.
But you know as well as I do, an NCAA guy could go to a car dealership, have a bagel, and be banned from playing back in the day.
And I said from the word go that was wrong.
It was wrong.
But sitting here saying, like, they have team meals together.
I get it.
The football teams want these, and the basketball teams, and even down to the tennis teams, they want these guys to play, right? Sure. They're making sure they're fed.
I get that, but they have the most arcane rules that says you can't. They used to, and now the NIL is turning into another.
It went from one side of the pendulum to the other. There's no in between here. And this could have been a beautiful thing. This could have been an absolutely beautiful thing. Because again, when I thought NIL, I didn't think football. I didn't think basketball. I thought swimming. Right. Where you look at these Olympic athletes, and I thought of Missy Franklin specifically, because she had to choose between cashing in on her gold medals when she was 15 or going to Stanford.
Right.
And I didn't think that was fair, because what happened? She got hurt and was never the same swimmer again. She never won another gold medal. She qualified for the Olympics, but barely. And really, I don't think she even won a bronze when she was there.
She lost out on a Wheaties box.
She lost out on millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars. And should be for those. But as in everything in college sports, it's football and basketball that drive it. Those are the people getting paid. And it's not the
Missy Franklin earned her money.
She did.
That's the difference. Missy Franklin performed at the highest level and earned her money, and didn't get to cash in on it. And now you have high school kids that haven't earned a dime, haven't done anything at a higher level, and they're getting paid
billions of dollars. It's not right. I agree with you.
I mean, you had Michael Phelps, who couldn't go to college. I mean, he could have. He chose not to. But he cashed in on being the greatest Olympian of all time.
As he should have. If you've got that kind of money, you can go to college and pay for it if you really want to go, if you're going to make millions. Missy Franklin really wanted that education from Stanford. It's a shame what happened.
Shouldn't have had to choose.
You're right. I agree with you.
And that's where the NIL is good. Where the NIL is bad is it's, again, if you're a high school student, you need to go to a lower D1 school and perform, because you're not going to get looked at by these big schools. You're not going to get a chance to play at these big schools, because they're going to bring in somebody that's known.
What needs to happen is somebody, and I'm looking at Deion Sanders on this, he's got to take a leadership role in this and look at leadership and go, this has to be changed now.
But Deion Sanders said it best. He said, we're only taking on 4 high school kids. He said, I feel bad for high school kids. We're doing all of our work through the transfer portal. These kids are already big and built. It's like choosing a free agent over a draft pick.
Right.
I'm going to choose that free agent every single time, because I already know what he's capable of doing. He's already been built in the NFL for a while. These high school kids are like the Bryce Youngs. They got to get bigger and stronger.
Well, look, we fixed baseball last week.
We did.
We will fix the NIL.
I mean, it's not that hard to fix. Put a cap on it for how much schools can spend, and don't allow it for incoming freshmen. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. I don't begrudge anybody going and making a living. Like Robin Yount, way back in the day, went to professional baseball because he didn't want to go to college. He took the money.
Well, and he became
he's a Hall of Famer.
When he went to the league at 18 years old.
Yes, and he wasn't ready at 18. It took several years for him to grow into his body and his role. These players that are coming in that are 18, and look at Arch Manning. He's going to get paid. He's getting paid, and he hasn't done anything. And good for him for getting it. The Mannies have prepared him well, but he better show up, and he better perform.
I'm with you. It's a lot of pressure on kids. Whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Pressure's a part of life. I have no issues with pressure on the kids. I just think, I don't know what I think. I just don't like the NIL. I mean, I'll be honest with you here. I don't have any stats behind it. I don't have any real reasons behind it. I don't like the NIL because this isn't what college is, right? This isn't what college sports is. I mean, we're the only place where college sports are even what they are right now. I mean, most other countries have clubs at this point, and you're putting millions of dollars, billions of dollars.
It's the American way.
It is the American way.
All right, leave it alone.
I don't know. I don't have a good reason. I really don't. To me, I just don't like it. Like, if you want to be a professional, be a professional, but this isn't a professional league, and it should just become a professional league.
How much money is involved in it? It's a
lot.
Professional league.
For some people, it's not.
True.
And that's a different ball game. Like, again, go and get your own money, but for schools to pay for you to come there on these NIL deals.
I don't agree with it. I've said it for years. I don't like that pros play in the Olympics. I don't like that they're now making it so pros are in college football as well. So
I don't know. You guys let us know what you think, because I don't have a good reason. So you can defend me if you'd like, or tell me why I'm wrong in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. We have had a fun show of me not knowing how to talk for half of it, but we got through it. But it is time for the last word, and the dad always gets the last word. The most terrifying time of my week. All you.
So, watched a lot of videos over the last week. I was in the airports and flying. Saw a lot of Larry Bird videos, but I saw a Michael Jordan video that I absolutely loved. Michael Jordan was asked, is he the greatest player of all time? And his answer was, well, no, I'm not, because I didn't play against the greatest. I didn't play against the Kareems in his prime. I didn't play against the Oscar Robertsons, the Havliceks, even the logo, the Jerry West of the world. Fast forward, then they asked LeBron James, who said, well, if I can win in Cleveland, I'm obviously the greatest player of all time. And Michael Jordan's reaction was classic, because his face was just like shaking his head, going, the guy doesn't get it. I also watched videos about Larry Bird, who needs to be in the discussion of the greatest of all time. He is the greatest trash talker of all time, because what he did to his opponents by not only calling them out, calling out the coaches, going, you're going to have this guy guard me? Really? He's white. He's white. And then he would also point at the floor and go, I'm going to shoot from right here. It's going to be a 3. And then after he does what he said he was going to do, he points at the floor and goes down. Man was insane. 6'9", one of the greatest passers of all time. You know I love Magic. I've had to relook at Bird because he just could do things nobody else could do. Maybe the greatest of all time.
Well, you listen to his contemporaries.
They're all saying it. Magic even says it. Greatest player he's ever seen. They played in a college tournament together. And after that tournament, everybody was thinking, he's from French Lick, Indiana. What the hell? He can't be that good. Magic's calling his buddies going, he's the real deal. He is a bad man, to steal a Stephen A. Smith line.
He was a good player.
It was an amazing time to watch basketball because, and the other thing was, they would never, ever, ever, ever consider playing together. Michael didn't want to play with Dr. J. He didn't want to play with Magic. He didn't want to play with Bird. He wanted to beat them on his own. And he did. Same with Bird. And Magic and Bird would never have played together. There wasn't enough ball.
Nope.
So, go watch some videos on Larry Bird. They're classic. And if you can find the video on Michael Jordan talking about is he the greatest ever, you got to watch it. It is remarkable. And I have new respect for Michael Jordan.
Well, to say anybody from that time period, be it Larry Bird, be it Kareem, be it Magic Johnson, saying they wouldn't be able to play in today's game,
that's just stupid. Larry Bird would own basketball. I mean, he could.
You think Steph Curry has a 3-point record?
Oh my God! Larry Bird, with the defensive rules where you can't touch him, Larry Bird played in a time where he was getting beat up consistently night after night. Look at his back. If he played today where nobody could touch him, how would you stop him?
I don't know. It's a great question that you guys can answer in the comments. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. We really appreciate you being here with us. This has been Sports Talk with Dad.
Bye, everybody.